Tēnā koutou. Good morning and welcome to today's council meeting. Just as a reminder, the council meeting is recorded and then placed on YouTube, so just to make everyone aware of that. I will open with the council prayer. If you could bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we ask for wisdom, discernment and your favour as we deliberate on the business of council. Bless our meeting as we work together to improve the lives of the people we serve. We meet to improve our community, to use our resources wisely and well, to represent all members of our community fairly, to make decisions that promote the common good. We recognise our responsibility to the past and the future, and the rights and needs of both individuals and community. As trusted servants, we seek blessings on our deliberations and on our efforts here today. May we act wisely and well. Amen. There are no apologies for today's meeting. Now, in the public forum, we do welcome Adam Duker, Janine Swanson and Felix from Dairy New Zealand, who are going to share with us the Plantain project and a special book. So Adam and Janine, do you want to come forward and just pop your mics on? And that's really so people, not just in this room, but also online, can hear. You're welcome just to move another chair up. So the floor's yours. Just press the button at the side, Brian might. If you're on the way, and the floor is all yours. So very welcome. We're really thrilled to see you and know just how much Dairy New Zealand is involved with the farmers of this community.
And appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak today. Thank you, Mayor Tracy. So what I'm presenting today is a book that we've written on the culmination of a 5-year project. So a collaboration project that we've Dairy NZ have had the pleasure to lead on behalf of Tararua dairy farmers and all farmers in the Tararua district. So I won't sort of labour through all of the preamble that got us to this point to be able to put a project together, but it is all in light of Horizons 1 plan and the need for environmental improvement. And ultimately, back 2017, we're in a stuck position as with all the Tararua dairy farmers, and we had a leaders group that formed and got together, and they sought some change, and they recognised that there was a real issue with the need to have further environmental improvement. But the realisation that the starting point, Tararua dairy farmers are already very highly efficient compared to national averages, very low stocking rate, very low input systems. And so how you go about making change for improvement was a very difficult task. So the Tararua farmers got together and they called on Dairy NZ to lead this project. And now we've got to a point where we're 5 years, we've actually completed the project and it's gone on to be adopted nationally in terms of plantain adoption. So when you're looking at plantain, that's ultimately is just a vehicle to be able to seek environmental improvement, and it's new technology that's available for farmers. Really, the key to this project though was collaboration, and so really appreciative of the District Council, to all of the other stakeholders that have been involved. I won't list them all because I'll forget someone and miss them out. But yeah, it was something where Tararua farmers really put their hand up and said, let's do something proactively and let's demonstrate that we're actually making the right things as a unit, as an entity, as a collaboration. So this book that we want to present to the council today is sort of culmination of that. It's a keepsake of the work that we've done over the last 5 years, and it's one of those point in time things where continuously farmers are improving from an environmental sense. So the project is finishing now after 5 years, but that environmental improvement continues across the board for farmers in the Tararua district. As you mentioned, me and Tracy, we've won a couple of awards with this project, so this is putting Tararua on the map, and there was some really exciting news that we did. So we entered into the Balanced Farm Environment Awards and under the Catchment Group Showcase, and we some pretty good accolades through that. The judges were particularly excited about the level of stakeholders involved and just the proactive nature of this project. And we also won the primary industry. Help me out with that one.
Yeah, I was trying to help you out. Primary industry awards in Wellington in July. So
Primary Industries New Zealand Awards. There we go. Yeah, and so that's a national award. And so that's all primary entities, and it was a collaboration award that we won from this project on that one, and so that was, I guess, it was quite a proud moment for all of us involved to be able to go down to Wellington and represent Tararua district, represent the farmers involved, and to get that accolade was pretty warming for us as a project and us as a district. First, we need to cover, Janine.
I think really just the point, but it's actually the vision for the book and the vision for the competitions, which is to share the great work that farmers have been doing and to share it with that wider community. Yeah, so really that's in a nutshell, really.
And you want to pass the copy of the book around? Or any world, I must not be off the world, don't it?
You don't have each.
Yes. One, please share it to a community business or something that other community members may be able to see.
Interest, me, Tracy, in getting further media correspondence would love to get a photo, be able to present the book to you. So just if we could have a photo presenting it to you would be fantastic. Felix has got a camera. Yeah.
You know. Actually, we've got two of them, take one for council as well. We would like to do that.
Go.
Wow.
It's all looking the wrong place, doesn't it? Make sure the king stays. Thank you.
Adam, are you happy to take, but just before I make any comment, you're happy to take a couple of questions from councillors? Councillor Ward.
Thank you, Your Worship. Congratulations, team. Fantastic work. You mentioned the catchment group, though, Adam. So the impact that this work has had, what would we see in the Manawatu catchment group, for instance? Have the learnings been taken across all of the catchment group? I mean, you mentioned it's been seen as a model nationally, but what's the rollout of some of these learnings and how quickly will it happen, do you think?
So two sides to it. One side is the collaboration and being creative. Yeah, so two sides. So one side is the collaboration and being proactive, and so that's actually sort of as groups getting ahead of the game, and to be able to operate in a very positive framework. So that's where the catchment groups locally are starting, and we've got a we're working with them at the moment. They're sort of on the rise. And so that locally, it's sort of very regional specific. So there's regions that are further ahead, but certainly Manawatu in the Ringatiki catchments are going ahead now. In terms of plantain adoption, that's being taken up on a national basis. There's a new project that started up on the basis of this project. So we really provided a blueprint in terms of plantain as a new forage for dairy farmers and for farmers for environmental improvement. And so that's now been taken up in 5 other regions with a $21 million research project that started up. And so, yeah, Tararua was certainly the first catchment to start that. So that's, yeah, certainly good to be able to take that up nationally.
Congratulations, thank you.
Councillor Long.
Yeah, congratulations. Can you explain to some of the other councillors here that may not know the environmental, what this plantain is doing for the environment? Thanks.
Okay. So what we're dealing with in this particular instance is nitrogen leaching, and so basically the cow's urine is too high concentration of nitrogen, and it comes out in a very concentrated form in a very specific sort of confined area. And so what plantain does is it's got a dilution effect, and so what it does is it reduces the concentration of nitrogen in the urine, and that allows the ability for the cow itself to be able to spread it across more parts of the paddock, and then it is able to be taken up more in terms of the system. So leaching is quite it's a difficult one. You can't see it. It's happening below the root zone, and so the more nitrogen that you can spread and get adopted and get taken into a pasture, the better it is environmentally. So it has another couple of functions as well, but yeah, that's certainly one of the main ones. So yeah, basically more nitrogen's getting taken up, and more nitrogen can then get converted into product instead of being lost below the root zone.
Thanks. Councillor Johns.
So in a nutshell, it's more efficient than grass. It does a better job than grass. Is it the guts of it?
So the guts of it is we had to be able to measure to make sure that it grows and is as productive. So the project itself in Tararua, we already had research to show that it is very good environmentally, but the question was, is it actually as high performing in the dairy system in the Tararua? And so we had to have a huge monitoring program, which Felix was leading the monitoring program in terms of, is it going to grow as much dry matter? Is it going to produce as much milk? And so can you have production as well as environmental? So we've been able to, with this project, demonstrate that that is the case. So it certainly works. There's some challenges, nothing is sort of perfect, but there are challenges in the system that we continue to be working through with farmers, and the new project is picking up some of those challenges.
And I guess it's just worth to add at the moment that's on top of the ground, and the new $22 million project is looking at proving the soil science for the denitrification process, and that's hopefully to come online in the next couple of years. So at the moment we see an overseer. The nitrogen benefit for plantain is on top of the ground, and we would hope to see an increase that in the near future.
Any further questions? I guess, just hearing that figure, $22 million invested in the next part, just shows the investment that's not only happening on farm, but as an industry, as we all look to improve the environment and practices. For me, councillors, just so you know, whilst I've been involved in this project, my farm wasn't selected as one of those 5, but Mike and I could see the benefits and actually had a plantain. And as you can see in the photo on page 6, ours was a plantain and chicory mix, along with some grass and some clovers. And I did think that when the chicory flowered, it was very, very pretty. So you can't see my plantain in that particular photo. But it actually made you feel good to see that out in the paddocks as well. So it's been the biggest game changer for, I guess, engaging with ministers and getting them to understand just how we're hardly working. It's given farmers another tool in the toolbox. And there's just been so many people involved in this project. And as I flick through the book, I can see, photos of us in the early stages of the one plan. I can see the Passy family and the Reed family and Janine and the schools that have all been involved in this as well. So I know when everyone went on stage, we thought it would be a good idea for everybody to go up on stage in the Balanced Environment Awards, just so people could see how many people were involved there. There was actually so many people there at the dinner. We took up the entire stage, so that was that made me feel really, really proud that absolutely everybody was in behind this and working for improvements. So thank you very much, Adam. You've been part of the project right from the start. Felix, for your technical skills, and Janine, you've come on board with this with incredible passion and gone out and worked very, very hard with our farmers, and you've been a front face for that. So we're very proud of you. We're very grateful for the work that you've done, because actually that helps all of us, even in council here, achieve our goals with the waterways and towards some of our vision and mission for this district. So thank you very much. Really commend you on the book, and it's lovely, to see Chair Mavis's message there as well. I'd love to have a sort of book like this, that really even councillors around our cyclone. I think these things, they help tell a story so that people understand where this has come from and the drive that's gone in there. And just as a note, I know you'll probably find this interesting, but I actually have some, I think is it EDA samples in my office for somebody to collect. That's how connected we are in these communities around that. So.
Tracy, I'd just like to add to that, a significant addition to the program, that initiative that Adam came up with, was the water quality program, and now we're through to we've got 23 sites complementing the Horizon sites, and the eDNA testing is really exciting our farmers and looking at ecosystem health, and it's showing up some really great results.
That's fantastic. And this is farmers themselves doing these water tests, and they send them through to the labs, to you. Is there any way we can, share that information or have access to that? Because some of those improvements are incredible, and I personally haven't done one of these tests myself, so I'd be interested.
Yeah, so there's the MCI data, which is probably the most universal indicators of waterway health. And that, when we present that annually at community events, it's so surprising to see that actually water quality is pretty decent through the Tararua district. And you've got sites from headwaters right through before it exits through the gorge. So that information is available, and then the eDNA sampling is coming through now as well, and that ultimately has a bigger picture of all of the different species in the waterway. It also has an indicator of health, and it's cheaper too. So we're learning how do we make sure that we get as much information available to the community.
Thanks for that. And I think that leads back to your question around the catchment groups, council awards, just how involved people are and passionate that they can see the waterways and their properties and their areas improving. So thanks very, very much for that work. Really, really enlightening, and look forward to some more work under the ground, because I think that is an important layer that we cannot forget as an entire kingdom alone, working away while we don't see it. So thanks very much. Thank you for your beautiful book. I'll keep my voice in the office, and councillors have a read of that, and please share it with your communities.
Well done.
very welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, or you can. Busy? Thank you. Thanks, Joe. That was a great way to start the meeting. Councillors, do I have any declarations of conflicts of interest for today's meeting? There are none. The confirmation of the minutes. Can I have somebody move that they are a true and correct record? Move Councillor Petty Webber, seconded Councillor Johns. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. And through those minutes. Page 6. Page 7. Page 8. Page 9. Page 10. Page 11. And page 12. We'll move to the community boards and community committees. I've got the minutes from Explore Pahiatua, that the minutes of the Explore Pahiatua Incorporated meeting and annual general meeting held on the 4th of October 2023 and the minutes of the meeting held on the 1st of November 2023 be received. Can I have a mover and a seconder for that? Moved Councillor Franklin, seconded Councillor Chase. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Page 15, page 16, 17, 18, and 19. The AGM minutes, page 20. Can I just query the 4.1, the Pahiatua Swimming Bars, the increase in funding, was that an annual increase or one-off?
I'm not 100% sure. I think it was a one-off. Yeah, actually.
I'll follow that.
Yeah, I can follow it up really like.
Page 21. Page 22.
I can comment on that page, Mayor Tracy. I think they've misunderstood. I've tried to explain the concept of membership of the society. They've only listed 4 members down there. In actual fact, all of the committee members are on the society as well. It should have really been a full list. They just wanted to establish that they had sufficient membership. But they've only put 4 down. So there's misunderstanding, I think, on the secretary's part.
Okay. Are there any other queries on that page? I just had one, Councillor Franklin. The 15.1, are they intending to do any more consultation other than just that Saturday market for the community plan?
No, as far as I know, Your Worship, that's all they're doing at this stage. Follow that one up too. I haven't been more since that meeting.
Councillor Johns.
Tracy, just going back to that, how many members are there in paid-up members?
Yeah, so the ones that are listed, plus the committee, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, and then the 5, 7 and 5 is 12. 4 is 11, yes. So you have to have 10 now with the new incorporated societies.
Just not many in the community of that size, is it?
Not really. I don't know why that would be. I don't know. I think, excuse me. I think the problem is that they advertise their AGM, of course, and people understand that that's to elect the committee, but they don't do a membership drive as such. And I think that's something that actually needs to be addressed. So I'll raise that with Ali Romanos and see if we can get some wheels in motion, because, we've got a lot of new young people in the community and we want to really encourage them. And you don't want to be looking like you're sort of an exclusive group either. And that can happen in small communities, as we well know. So thank you, Peter. I will follow that up, Tracy.
Councillor Wallace.
Thank you, Tracy. Yeah, just going back to 4.1, so their grant, the way that is increased by 10,000. What's their grant? Annual,
Off the top of my head, I can't tell you. I will come back to you with that figure.
It's about 27,000.
I'll tell you what, we might ask Sarah if you could just look that up and come back to us, if that's all right.
yeah,
Right, page 21. Page 22. Page 23. Sorry. Then we're moving on to the Explore Pāhia 2 minutes for Wednesday, the 4th of October. Page 24. Councillor Franklin, just on the Poplar Reserve, is there any further? It's got Councillor Franklin to follow up, is there?
I followed that up in my report to the last meeting, and I got all that information directly from the team here. So basically, the fact that yes, I actually see Brian helped me with that one. That Horizons actually do administer them. That's in their territory. However, when it comes to rubbish, then we collect it, and then you bill Horizons for half. Was that right? I think, Brian, for Poplar Reserve. I can't remember.
On the spot there. No, I don't recall actually, to be honest.
I do have got it in writing, so yeah, so they just want an explanation of, because it does get quite a lot of littering out there, and they want an explanation about who, because they absolutely convinced that it was Tara District Council that look after it, but it's actually not.
Take it right.
Yeah.
Thanks for clarifying that, Councillor Franklin. Page 25. Just one correction. 7.3, the Tara District Licensing Committee. Councillor Kerry Sutherland is the deputy chair there.
Yes, I can explain how that happened. I think it might have been while you were away, when it got raised here that the Licensing Act actually states that the deputy chair should be a councillor, and Kerry actually spoke at that meeting and said that he was always on there just as a member of the public. And so the suggestion was made that day that if I got elected to that committee, that would possibly happen, but it didn't, so that's fine. So I saw that in there too. And I didn't know that Kerry had been appointed deputy chair now, so.
Thank you. Right, nothing further on page 25. Page 26. Right. Councillor Franklin, I thought it would be, I've just made a note here on my agenda. I thought it'd be a great idea if you could share, and maybe this for other councillors as well, the wastewater and water treatment plant costs from the Finance Committee to those committees. I thought they might be interested in that. Page 27. Page 28. Page 29. Page 30. Page 31. Then we have the minutes of the Explore Pāhia Toa Incorporated Society meeting.
Step back one, please. 11.1 storyboards in the main street. I did file a CRM for that. That has not been attended to. I'm really concerned that whatever's happening to them is damaging them, because it's a metal plate and it's got something on the surface that not all of them are bad, but the outer borders, the wooden borders as well, look terrible. They've gone green. So I asked for them to be cleaned. They actually need to be sanded and stained or something because they look awful. It hasn't been done, so.
I guess my note I made on here is, Explore Pāhia Toa can put CRMs in.
Yeah, that's right, it's on there.
Thank you. We might need just to have a look at that. And I guess that comes back to that original design and consideration for long-term maintenance and cost to communities. Right, so the minutes of Explore Pāhia Toa held the general meeting held on the 1st of November, page 32, page 33. Page 34, page 35, six. Thank you. We have the minutes of the Eketahuna Community Board for their meeting on the 13th of November. So the minutes of the Eketahuna Community Board held on the 13th of November be received. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Scott Gilmore and Councillor Mike Long. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Page 37. Page 38.
One person other than the two councillors present at that meeting.
Disappointing, but unfortunately, we did have the chair was away with a known leave of absence. There was one urgent medical and one incident of sickness, so we had a little bit of COVID going around that community. The discussion around a quorum was held. Yeah. Page 38. And page 39. Councillors. Right, we'll go into the next item, which is the recommendation from the Audit and Risk Committee, readoption of the report. We'll just let Sarah, we do have one change there and a change to that recommendation. But welcome, Sarah. Sorry. No, I think that's what caused it.
Just before we go on to that, I noticed there are no minutes from positively good. Would we not?
Depending on the timing of their meeting, they may not have come in, but I'll just ask Ellie to make a comment.
Received them, so until I've received them, I can't put them on the agenda.
Councillor Gilmore.
Thanks very much, Your Worship. And I guess just in response to that, I can't wait to see those minutes come in. Service agreement has not yet been signed. I believe it's on the agenda for the next Positively Woodville meeting. Once that is agreed and signed, then part of that contractual obligation will be for them to present their minutes in our papers. Until that's formalised, it's probably not appropriate for it to happen as of yet. If any councillors, though, would like sight of those, either Councillor Johns and I are very, very happy to forward them to you. So just that I mentioned.
Thanks, Councillor Gilmore, and they have been coming through to myself as well, because I do just like to, know what's happening, and it'll be good when they do come through for other councillors just to have a really good overview of what has been happening, because there's been some great stuff in the community. That, Mad Hatters Day was just outstanding. Yeah. Right, welcome, Sarah. We were expecting the adoption of the annual report.
Morning, Your Worship and councillors. I will just tap back to Councillor Wallace's question earlier around the Paitoa swimming bars. So the management fee went from 25,000 to 35,000. Answer that question. Right, to discuss the item that's on the table is the annual report, the adoption of the annual report. You'll recall in our Audit and Risk Committee meeting last week that it was subject to audit clearance on a couple of big areas, one being our revaluation, which was one of our main problem child, I guess you could call it, from the 2022 annual report. That item is still being worked through by the auditors, and that could have a significant change to the annual report. Could, just stressing the word could. At the moment, we don't foresee it to be one, but I'm just alarming you, well, bringing it to your attention that it could. As a result of that, we have agreed with the auditors that we will continue to work through that this week and ask that the annual report adoption lie on the table to the December meeting.
Thank you, Sarah. I know how hard you'd worked and how disappointing that will be for you and the team as well. So we will get there. Yeah, okay. So the recommendation, councillors, is that the item, recommendation from Audit and Risk Committee, readoption of the annual report 2022-23, be left lying on the table for consideration at the 20 December 2023 meeting of the Taurua District Council. Can I have somebody move that? Councillor Long, seconded Councillor Chase. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Did anyone have any questions they wish to ask of Sarah?
Can I just make a sorry, can I just make a further comment? I just want to stress that the revaluation being such a big piece of work, and it is something we are noting the issues that are occurring, and we are looking to implement processes of improvement for the next annual report. And I also just want to signal that at the 20 December, we look to have the summary available as well.
Thanks, Sarah. And I'll just note, for online, there are councils that don't revalue every year as well. Councillor Wallace.
You're just asking the question. So when we had the auditors here, is that the same paper we're talking about? Which they spoke very highly of you guys. And it's not a criticism of you guys. I'm just trying to get my head around the change, because you leave here feeling really good, and now you kind of got a flat tire, one wheel.
I think you just need a bit of air. The auditor did say indicate on the day that there was still those few minor things to go through. So it is part of a process. Sarah, did you want to elaborate on that a bit more for Councillor?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, so as Mayor Tracy has just kind of indicated, we did leave and we were in a really good space. We still are having constructive conversations around our unit rates and things like that for our revaluation. So because our revaluation is our biggest item on the balance sheet, it has the potential to be significant should audit and us as a council not agree. So we're just continuing those constructive conversations to come up with a solution.
There's the definition of that gap, isn't it? Minor, what you say.
Any further questions? Keep persevering, Sarah. Thank you. Right. Next item on the agenda is 9.2, the Umataroa Domain Board. Adele's going to take this paper for us.
Morena Poto, Mayor and Councillors. I've got Peter Wimsett here to speak alongside me with this report. He's been supporting our team, particularly with this report, so he can shed some light on it as well. The report comes to you following a request from the Umataroa Domain Board Committee after a meeting that they'd held with the community around the state of that, the hall, and the community's desire to have that in a different state going forward so that they can make better use of it. So I will take the report as read. It does highlight a lot of the situation that has been unearthed there, the state of the building. There are some pictures there that describe it. The building is in council ownership alongside of the Umataroa Domain Board Committee. However, that committee is not currently an established entity. So that responsibility does sit with council. The committee has proposed some short-term and long-term solutions, one being that the the hall is demolished or removed, or some of the aspects of the hall removed. There's some native timber evidently in the flooring that they would like to use. And then a long-term solution being that that area is maintained as a scenic reserve where picnics and the like can be undertaken. We do need to do some further assessments out there to understand any insurance claims. There is a tree that has fallen on top of the building, so we haven't yet done that work. But I will leave it to you for any questions, and Peter can contribute as well.
Thank you. Councillors, are there any questions? Councillor Wallace.
The first one that springs up through you, Mayor Tracy, is the insurance a major amount of money that we can get a claim on and get a $1 million building rebuilt because of the tree? Is the obvious one.
Your Worship, there's 202,000 roughly as the insured value. I think the community out there estimated it would be over 400,000 to replace the building for a similar size structure. Of course, why would you do that if it's not going to be utilised, and it hasn't been utilised for a long time, which is why the council originally stopped funding the depreciation of those buildings. So I'm going off tangent here, but that's some of the background there. But in terms of the insurance, the insurer usually only allows you to replace the part that's broken. And we do have an excess of 5,000, 10,000. So it's unlikely to need more than $10,000 repairs for an element of the roof that's failed. So it's likely it's just the net cost to council to fix and repair, for which we don't have a renewal reserve.
Thank you, Peter.
Councillor Gilmore, then Councillor Johns.
Thanks, Your Worship, and thank you for the report, Adele and Peter. Just having a look, I guess, at the options, there's clearly a little bit of work still to go, which I completely appreciate, but with a recommendation that we look at getting, in particular, those trees sorted to make the area safe. Is there I guess the option as well as leaving it completely as is, making sure gates are locked up, hazard signs are put up, until we actually have the full picture, doing nothing?
Your Worship, I think the problem there is that it's an actual recreation reserve, so the public are entitled to access the site. So it would have to be quite a well-defined cordon. But the other bigger picture issue is the trees are starting to fall over, and so they're close to the road as well. So we probably need to actually address that just as a normal course of event. In terms of the getting the reserve management strategy done, I don't think it would be easy to make a decision until you've actually gone through that process. But that's helpful in terms of it's probably in line with our LTP process as well, in terms of sorting out any numbers and options. So it's not a bad thing, it's just that that immediate risk of trees is a current issue to be addressed.
Councillor Johns and Councillor Woods.
Your Worship, Peter, is the hall itemised separately for insurance, or does it come under some sort of blanket council buildings policy?
To Your Worship, it's itemised. Yes, it's been itemised.
No, the premiums on rural halls are very high because they have a tendency to burn down. One would assume it's probably $2,000 or $3,000 a year. But we might be paying. I'm sorry. But certainly we should stop paying premiums on a hall that's not being used and that nobody wants. Just an aside.
Yes, I'm looking to rush.
To give you a bit of background, quite some years ago now, the RSA Hall in Woodville was purchased by a group that we set up called the Woodville Hall Trust. And long story short, it was 15 metres from the fire station. But the insurance premiums, when we inquired why they were so high, the insurance company said rural halls have a tendency to burn quite frequently. And small towns like Woodville are classified as rural. And as any hall, and it doesn't matter how far away it is from the fire station, it comes under the same category. But certainly halls like Umatarā, Kumara and halls like that are at high risk of burning.
Many years ago, when we went from indemnity insurance to replacement insurance, I costed out to get all of our buildings from indemnity to replacement, to full replacement. And for the whole of all of our assets, buildings, it was a $10,000 premium cost. That was the change for all of them. That was way back in the day. That's why we chose to go from indemnity to a full replacement, because it actually was quite good value.
Councillor Wards.
Thank you, Your Worship. Probably more a comment than a question. This particular building has a lot of emotional attachment to a lot of, well, a number of the elderly, more mature members in that community. And so I can imagine that the discussion has ranged from a complete renovation and upgrade through to why don't we just acknowledge, you know, the members of the community that used to spend some very happy times in that building. So I'm pleased to see, you know, in item 8.1 that we will go to some form of consultation. I think to be able to present to the community the ability, and you've reflected on it, Peter, the ability for the community still to access that reserve for picnics and a lot of the family activities that people used to enjoy being there, but still find some way to acknowledge whether you recycle the timber and you build a frame and a barbecue and a plaque that's got. I think it would be useful to present the community back with what it might look like if we did this. So I congratulate you on getting this far, because every time I drive past that building, I think, oh, living heck, we've got to do something with it. So thanks for the work that's gone on so far.
Thank you. The comments, sorry, I'll go Councillor Long.
Mayor Tracy, and in that consultation, would there be an opportunity also to see if the community wanted to sell it, dispose of the property?
It's recreation reserve.
We would not be able to sell the land, and I would expect that it would have to be offered back to iwi first, as in terms of how it was acquired and for a public works originally. So there are those aspects, but in terms of the building structure, which is pre-1900, from what I could see, that might be quite valuable to someone to lift up and take. There might be an opportunity to make money and reinvest it into that reserve. That would be a nice outcome, to know that the building was preserved at least and relocated somewhere and was still used, because that's retention of history. One other thing, the domain board itself, which we call domain board and shouldn't, but domain committee, has control of $5,469 as of the last reconciliation. So they don't have a lot of money. That's probably the problem. And they only acquired $500, just over $500 46 cents or something like that last year, including just. So they're not making a lot, and that's part of the problem, is that they don't have a lot of resource to work with.
We are facing this issue, not particularly with the trees, but with domain boards around. And I do have an upcoming meeting with, at the request of the Hamua domain board. I agree with the short-term proposals. I mean, the trees aren't safe. We do need to action that. And, at the community's request to have a look at that building. The long-term proposal, and just where we do that, my questions there is, those are all aspirational and I agree with them. It's just really understanding what precedent this sets within the community, within all of those communities, and actually the cost of that and the ongoing cost of maintenance and how that is kept and what that impact is to rates. It's not something that we've got a long history of looking after and maintaining some of these reserves. So I would be keen to see further information on that as well. Okay. Right, we've got a recommendation here that the report from the Group Manager's Strategy and Community Wellbeing dated the 22nd of November 2023 concerning New Meadow Road Domain Board Hall be received, that the Council undertake the immediate requirements to remediate risks of falling trees and its responsibilities as building owner, that options and funding be considered part of the draft Long-Term Plan 2024. I'd like to see councillors, some of that precedent stuff come to us before that long-term plan. I don't think for me it is an automatic that goes into the long-term plan. So we have two parts of that, and it's just whether we reword that last item of the recommendation or remove it from there and have a long-term plan discussion around that. Ellie, have you got any recommendations whether we just remove that or amend it? It'll be considered. No, that's fine. I'm comfortable with that. Yep. Okay, I'm happy to move that recommendation. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Sutherland, all those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Right, thank you.
And thank you, Ellie, for putting out the reserve management part.
Okay, item 9.3, Birch North Forest Access Considerations. Welcome, Ray. Welcome, Ray.
Thank you, Worship, and councillors, good morning. Purposes of this report to you regarding the entrance to Birch North Forest. This was a matter that was picked up through there was obviously a subdivisional request that comes through from the property beside us. And what it was found is that Birch North Forest has been landlocked. It is actually the pinnacle of the forest there, and in the report, this plate, I don't know, it's in the plate, council was going to show, I've included maps to show pinnacle the entrance forest comes to the end of Birch North Road. However, at the end of Birch North Road, our land finished about 20 metres before the gate. And what it typically was, we have been crossing private land to access to Birch North Forest. This has probably been a handshake agreement that's been in place for probably from the years since purchase. However, what has been picked up is that because there has been a dispute with the neighbour beside us, another neighbour, technically locked off the entrance to his land. And so that has started the ball rolling. He had to then re-amend his entrance to his property, which was going to block our entrance off completely. So we've been negotiating and talking with them for the last 12 months, come up with various options, and all sorts. We looked through options of potentially when we harvested Birch North Forest previously, we accessed by Otora Station, which is private, right at Bacchus. It's about a 5 kilometre access way through private land. we had the forestry company engaged a maintenance agreement. Looking at that, you're potentially spending $10,000 to $15,000 per year on maintenance, which could put us at risk. So we've been talking with the landowner, and we've semi-agreed that we would undertake the earthworks to amend the entrance for both of us. The Connor family has gone ahead and surveyed two options of complete no access or complete an access with an easement for us. And the estimated earthworks for us is between $20,000 to $30,000 worth of earthworks. There is a section of land which could give us access to the right of the property. However, it is across a gully, and potentially that is a $50,000 job. So hence probably the least cost option for us is to engage to undertake the earthworks. Connor family do engage the legal survey and have that done, and then we just go through the legal agreement to have it legalised and put in place so that we have actually an access to virginal forest for our future. It's another issue where previously unknown issues. If we don't do nothing about them now, all they will do is cause us headaches in the future for future managers. So hence my report that
Thanks, Ray. Are there any questions from councillors? Councillor Sutherland? No?
It's me, Tracy. Just thank you for that. Just Ray, that I know the Connor family land. So I would say the disputes between Connor family and that small block just to the west, is it Gunton Holdings?
No. No, I can't recall the note. It's a large property. There is the Connor family, their property is bordering us. There is the neighbour to their, possibly to the south is the neighbour concerned. There is also another neighbour to the forward. There's very like a 20-metre section that touches the property.
Okay, so there's a little piece, they've wanted the dispute and he's locked that gate.
Right, now.
We only want access to a little 20 metres of road there, don't we?
Yes, but that is on the opposite side. The gate that has been placed on the road reserve now is access to the neighbour to our left. That technically is in a road reserve. He is, and we attempted to form some mediation between both neighbours. However, that fell apart. They're not talking to each other. The entrance to this property to our left is also within road reserve. However, if we undertake our repairs as well, potentially it might actually cut some of their entrance off. They may have to re-amend their own entrance as well.
But the 30,000 we look to spending, that we're going to go with that little piece, and that 30,000 will help to give him access.
It will both Connor and ourselves access.
Well, got no access now.
Technically he has, however, it is not suitable for potential logging trucks.
Create a new interest because he spent a lot of money up there.
Correct.
He can't get in there now, can he?
No.
We do the entrance and we also do some roading for him.
The combination would be both parties will benefit.
I've got, thanks, I've sort of got that.
Thanks, Councillor Long. And can I just get people to use their mics if they can?
You, Mayor Tracy, could you explain a bit more about someone putting a gate on a reserve access way, please?
The entrance itself, I haven't got a picture of it. However, the area that is of concern, access is both previously the Connor property and the property to our left. It's about a 10-metre section. It is in road reserve, and what he has done, he has just put a temporary gate right across there. So technically in time to come, we can serve a notice to actually remove back to his boundary. And that's possibly the action we will take in the future once we sort our entrance out. That he will then have to potentially maybe alter his or her entrance to gain access to their property. But at the end of the day, there's disputes left and right. We don't want to be upsetting too many people. Our purpose of what we're trying to achieve is access to our $1.3 million forest that we need to keep going.
Councillor Gilmore. Okay, thanks. Councillor Johns.
Seems to do what's suggested, spend 30,000 and get access.
Okay, so the recommendation is that the report from the Taurua Alliance Engineering Services Manager dated the 14th of November 2023 concerning the Birch North Forest access considerations being received, and that approval be granted to progress establishing a permanent access to Birch North Forest via the right of way easement, and to enter into cost sharing arrangements with the adjoining landowner to complete the required earthworks and legislation actions. Councillor Johns, you're happy to move that, and Councillor Peter Webber second. All those in favour, please say aye. Against? Carried. Thanks, Ray. It's just on 10 o'clock. We might just adjourn if we can for 15 minutes for a morning tea break and then come back.
Just before you go, just from last night.
We're just recording.
We should all go with that and drive. Take a cut lunch and go. I think we should go to beer trade north to take a cut lunch and go to a nosy one.
Well, actually, it should have.
Yeah, Sheldon.
So we'll have an outing.
There's a great drone shot, good drone we've done. Right, satellite, it's really interesting, so that was fantastic. Council, that'd be interesting. Council,
Right, Right, thank you, councillors, for the adjournment. We will recommence the meeting. Right, item 9.4 is the appointment of an external member to the Audit and Risk Committee. So Brian, this is your paper, but we can take this as read. Councillors, I do have a recommendation there unless anyone has got any questions.
Recommendation, Your Worship.
Thank you. So the recommendation for those online, that the report from the Chief Executive dated the 24th of October 2023 concerning the appointment of an external member to the Audit and Risk Committee be received, that the council appoints Mr Philip Jones to the Audit and Risk Committee as the independent chairperson of the committee, that the council notes that the term of the appointment is for 1 3-year term in accordance with the good practice guidance provided by the Office of the Auditor General. Moved Councillor Johns, seconded Councillor Franklin. All those in favour, please say aye, and then against carried. Councillor Gilmore, you've got a question?
Thanks, Mayor Tracy. Not a question, just a comment of speaking to the motion, but I'll just make the comment now. I just wanted to thank colleagues that were involved in the process of finding our independent chair, along with staff who went through the recruitment process. For me, this is a absolutely essential part of how our council operates, of having that independent eyes over that really important committee. So I guess I just wanted to, as someone that wasn't part of that committee, to acknowledge that, to thank everyone for their work, and to say that I'm really looking forward to working with Mr Jones.
Thanks, Councillor Gilmore. And, as part of that process, the comment that I would add to that is that it was really pleasing to see such a high calibre of applicants. That made it very tough, and we can really celebrate the fact that we actually have a very high standard, and looking forward myself to working with Mr Jones also. So thank you, councillors. Right, we'll move on to item 9.5. And I don't know that we need this presented, but we've got a road closure requested under the 10th schedule of the Local Government Act 1974. Yep. Councillor Petty Weber is moving the motion, and seconded by Councillor Gilmore. All those in favour, please say aye. And the recommendation is a lengthy one, that the report from the Alliance Manager dated the 14th of November concerning a road closure application under the 10th schedule of the Local Government Act 1974 as circulated be received, that pursuant to section 342 and the 10th schedule of the Local Government Act 1974, the council resolves to close the following road for the purpose of allowing the Pahiatua Lions to hold a bush cycle tour event on Kawanui Road, the 9th of March 2024, 9 a.m. till 2 p.m. And the conditions that are applied to the granting of this road closure is that the Tarawera Alliance, in conjunction with the organiser, will assess shortly prior to this event the condition of the road involved to determine its suitability for this purpose. That if the Tarawera Alliance identifies the road as being unsuitable, condition arising from this assessment, then they have the discretion to request the organiser to withdraw the road from the route of this event. That shortly after the event has been held, the Tarawera Alliance will carry out a drive over of the road that was closed for this event to assess its condition. So all those in favour, and I think I read those conditions because actually they are critical. Councillor Johns.
Thanks, Your Worship. I think that clause is in there for rallying purposes and the destruction of roads as a consequence. These are push bikes.
Correct. I would make comment that I have requested the Tauranga Alliance look at one recent road closure just because of some damage that was occurred on the booms of properties and with traffic driving around. So, yeah, just critical that some of those are carried out. I understand, and I have actually taken part in that cycle tour. Right, all those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you, councillors. Right, then we're moving on to the appointment of delegates to the Local Government New Zealand Special General Meeting. The recommendation is there, and the Special General Meeting paper has been circulated to councillors. So I'm happy to have some discussion for that, and then we'll move that motion if anyone. So has everybody read the Special General Meeting paper? Okay, is there any discussion on that paper or the people voting? Councillor Wards.
I'll just make a comment. Thank you, Worship. I think the background that the nominated and nominated colleagues have been involved with prior to, we will be well served by having them represent us. So
Thank you. No. Right, so the recommendation is that the report from the Manager of Democracy Services dated the 21st of November 2023 concerning the appointment of delegates to Local Government New Zealand Special General Meeting be received, that the Tauranga District Council formally appoints myself, Deputy Mayor Erina Peti-Weber and Councillor Scott Gilmore as its delegates to attend the Local Government New Zealand Special General Meeting being held on the 11th of December at 4:30 via Zoom. Other councillors are welcome in attendance, and that the Tauranga District Council provides the following guidance for delegates to assist them with their votes at a special general meeting, and that consent has been given for that paper that has been circulated. So all those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. Thank you, councillors, and thank you for reading that paper late in the piece. We'll just move to the mayoral, actually, sorry, we've got one more. I've skipped a tab. The outer cult. It's been popped in front of the other. Right. So we've got item 9.7, which is the request for information processed under the Local Government Official Information Act. Ellie, would you like to speak to this report and the why it's we've put this in here?
Bishop. This report's provided just to give a bit of awareness of the types of requests for information that we receive at council, the numbers of those and the sorts of information that is being requested regularly. So protect people's privacy where it's a request from an individual. We don't note their name or anything like that, but where it's an organisation, there's no problem with sharing the details of who has requested that information. So it's just there for awareness and to be able to provide this each month. So happy to take any questions.
Thanks, Ellie. And I think, it's good to see just the level of work that goes on in the background. And I think that was very enlightening. Councillor Gilmore.
Thanks very much, Your Worship. And thank you for the report, Ali, and thank you for all the work that you do in this really important area. A significant amount that we often hear, the significant amount of work, but the fact that you're getting through all of those requests so quickly is, I guess, a real credit to our processes. One thing I did want to ask here, and I am quite interested in this particular topic, and I think it's super important from a transparency perspective of actually just making sure that anything that's provided is available. And I had a bit of a look on other councils' websites and saw how they were dealing with Lagoimas. And I did notice that a lot of councillors actually publish all of their Official Information Act requests. So it comes in, it gets sent out to the requester, and then there's a page on the website. So anyone interested is able to go on to do that. I was wondering how difficult that might be for us to do.
A council I've previously worked at, they use that system, but the technology they're using makes it a very seamless process that automatically shares it from the system to the website. We're not in that space. It would be quite a bit of manual work involved.
For that.
I do wonder if there is value in it. I think for me as a councillor, there's value as well that there isn't necessarily members of the community out there with more information than what I have. So I'm able to just jump on to have a look, especially if it's related to any of my particular areas of responsibility. I don't think necessarily it needs to be complicated. It's save it as a PDF and just upload it with the date and the requester. Personally, it's something that I would quite like to see as a transparency piece, but I thought I would flag it and see if we could do at least some investigation on how we could make that work.
Happy to do that, but then there is quite a lot of, even though it sounds simple, there is a lot of manual work because you have to redact private information from every PDF. There's quite a lot involved, and even just loading it into the website, each PDF, that is quite a process. And when you can have a system that just seamlessly does it, it's only ever entered once and it automatically goes up. That's the ideal, but we don't have that available at this stage.
Yeah, through your worship, and just to add, it's certainly something we could look at doing in the future, but also bear in mind that there's only been one alley now for a good 6-7 months, so we haven't been able to fill a vacancy as well. So certainly when we resource a bit better than we are in that space, it's certainly something that we'll continue to investigate.
Councillor Long, Councillor Sutherland.
Will that be something that we'll be able to use when our new digitisation program is implemented? Would that be better then? No?
Different implementation. Okay. Yeah. It's about the technology that's used.
Councillor Sutherland.
Thanks, Ms. Tracy. I was just really going to make a comment, actually. It's what's really obvious, isn't it? We've got a month and a little bit over a month's information here. I'm really surprised at numbers, and looking at one or two of those topics, I can just see how much work there needs to be to drag some of the stuff. It's not just sitting there either. It's got to be dug out from quite a, we haven't got the most up-to-date method of, I can see a lot of work to pull some of this stuff out. So I can appreciate the effort, actually.
Just want to acknowledge all the officers in council that actually provide this information. I triage them as they come in and I send them out to everyone, and people work really hard to get that information to me as quickly as possible.
Thank you, and I think that is something that we will keep working towards, because even the information regarding earthquake strengthening and things like that, there is some information that would be an advantage for us to understand as well. So we'll keep working to that. But thank you very much, Ellie, and to the rest of the team, because there's a lot there. There's a lot there. Yeah. Okay. Right, so we have the recommendation that the report from the Manager of Democracy Services dated the 15th of November 2023 concerning the request for information processed under the Local Government and Official Information and Meetings Act be received. Can I have a mover and seconder? Move Councillor Ward, seconder Councillor Gilmore. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. And then we'll just talk back to 9.6, which is the Mayor and Councillors report that I didn't have tagged. Right. Right, so the mayor and councillors reports, we had the Wet Crow reports and some of the young people there that were acknowledged, which was great. Just a little bit more on the blessing of Te Ara Whata, the New Zealand Liberation Museum in Lequenois, France. The 1st Battalion Memorial Wall opening that I attended, that was very much a privilege to be there with those families, and that's a very clear, I guess, indication of our relationship with the 1st Battalion. That was one of their special days. So that was a significant one and very deep. Always, I guess, if I had to relate back to the New Zealand Liberation Museum, those people that lost their lives and served were very young, and so were the people that are commemorated on their wall, and that's something that you always notice. The 150-year celebrations at Norsewood School and Country Festival, absolutely fantastic. And thank you to councillors that did, Councillor Wallace, and also board members that attended those days. The Charter Parade and Armistice Day in Pahiatua, another very successful, a very long morning for those soldiers standing there, but it was a fantastic day, and I don't know that we have had such good weather since, so we really turned it on there. Just wanted to really acknowledge Nigel, Mike and the team for the incredible work and organisation. That is, those events are carried out to military precision, and there is a lot that goes in the background. But on the day, I also acknowledged the councillors that couldn't attend those that award, because actually those councillors were carrying out other civic duties in this district at other cenotaphs. So that was certainly appreciated and acknowledged on the day, and I thank those councillors. The visit to Te Huaturanga, the Manawatu Tararua Highway. Another fantastic visit. I was very surprised at the amount of work and just how far they'd got on that bridge. So that gave me great hope. And they shared quite a bit about the project and their involvement in the community. And in the early hours of the morning last week, Councillor Gilmore and I stood on the street in Dennyburg and watched the last 47-metre beam travel through. So that was great to put our hands on that and wish it well. So that was the last beam. They were concerned about that one. It's the trickiest of all of them to get through, and the coordination to get those large beams through the road. So that was good. Councillor Frank.
Councillors went to do that?
Just the two, but look, it was 2 a.m. in the morning. You are all forgiven, and that time did change.
Me too. I almost rang you when it was about to Liverpool. I had to stop because it met a house on the same way.
Yeah, it is, and these are the things that we don't see in the middle of the night.
Thank goodness.
I was surprised too. We did catch up with the town was quite busy. Right. Councillor Franklin, do you want to comment on your passenger transport?
Thank you, Your Worship. I missed out on going to Te Ahuaturanga that day because of this meeting, but I was ever so glad that I was present. I was really concerned that the absolute obvious looks on the faces when they were actually questioned about what plans were being made to include the Tara district once the new road opens. And it was pretty obvious that there were none. And so fortunately, Brent Barrett from Palmerston North City Council and what's his name? From Wanganui, both absolutely supported me 100%. I had a member of there was a group of people came into the meeting. I had a woman who used to work she was on the board of Mid Central Health, who came and thanked me and said, you know, that was one thing they heard over and over and over again at their board meetings was the lack of transport from this district to get people to the hospital. And so I felt like we actually got somewhere with this. I do believe that if we want this in, we need to get it into their long-term plan, because they obviously haven't got any budget there for it at the moment. And so that's when the chair suggested a meeting, and I spoke with Mayor Tracy, and Mayor Tracy was going to actually organise that so we can have around the table, because at the moment, you know, the beauty of it is, of course, if we can get a route through to Dannevirke, then we can connect with Waipukurau services as well. So you're immediately extending the district both north and south. At the moment, we're pretty much left out. And I actually made that quite clear. And that's why when I asked, because I didn't know they had governance groups in each of the districts across the region for passenger transport. And so I asked, well, when we get our extension, are we able to have a governance group? And it was like, they didn't quite know what to say. But I felt that it was a strong, I strongly advocated. I think the response from our community was absolutely outstanding. And I felt a bit peeved that they minimalised it a bit, when in fact we're the only ones that don't have that transport system. And the obvious that these communities, I think particularly Woodville was really noticeable, really put their shoulders to the plough, and they fired those responses in. And that was so heartening to think that all the effort we made to get that out there and encourage people absolutely paid off. But that to me tells us what our people want. And I was really, really proud to sit there as the only one that doesn't have a route to actually have the highest submission rate percentage. So if you did, I don't know how you'd work that stat out properly, but when you look at the difference between Wanganui and Tara District of 1.7%, and you look at the difference in the population, it speaks volumes. So I don't think it's something we can afford to let go. We've always thought this was going to happen eventually. I felt like it would just be put aside if it wasn't pursued. So I guess I don't know how we go from here.
Thanks, Councillor Franklin. Yeah, I literally am. I'm not sure if I've got hay fever or what's going on, but I am. Only in one eye. Councillor Gilmore.
Thank you very much, Your Worship, and through you to Councillor Allison. Thanks for the report. I really enjoyed reading it and quite enjoyed some of the strong language within it. So thank you. It was really good to be able to sort of see the outcome of some of those discussions where some of us were really trying to promote people to use it. I did just want to ask about the statistics that you talk about, and I agree, it looks very, very misleading at best, the way that they were originally presented. What was their response when you raised that with them? I'm just curious to know how they responded, because it seems once it's pointed out, it becomes very, very obvious.
Yes, and I spoke with Chair Sam after the meeting, and he said, yeah, you are actually right. And I said, well, you know, I felt there was a bit of mumbling going on when I brought it up, but there were, from the group sitting in the back, there were grins a mile wide, because they actually downplayed how much this community, our district, put into this. And so I just wanted to make sure that it was on the record and in the minutes that actually this should be acknowledged. So thank you for that.
Thanks, Councillor Franklin. So in the responses, are you able to share or give council any indication of just what the people were asking for?
That's been requested. We haven't received it yet, but I will follow that up with Sam. We did ask for that, so did Brent, and the guy Tonin from Wanganui, who is an absolute passenger transport guru. And they asked for it as well, and we haven't seen anything yet. So I'll follow that up. I'll ask Sam, because I'd like to see a cross section of the submissions as well, to see what the comments are.
I guess the reason I asked that, councillors, is to throw our support in behind it. We actually need to understand first what is being requested. And I do think it's good to understand that, because, you know, I do get some requests through from Eketahuna going to Masterton, whether, you know, that is commuter services and where those gaps are. But I am hugely disappointed because the chair and the chair of that committee were both aware that Councillor Raylene Treader in the previous term sat in that committee for 3 years. Now, John Barrow, as a regional councillor, stepped off that committee. He was the representative for Tararua, stepped off that committee because Tararua had nothing, and they did do an original survey, which was very poor. We did put our weight in behind this, and we worked for 3 years knowing that this new road was here. Also, when we have a look at things like the Joint Action Climate Change Plan, we don't have any options for reducing those emissions. And families, as those cost pressures come on, don't have some of those luxuries of public transport. So to find that the response rate was so overwhelming, and yet we're failing to understand that and they move forward, I certainly thank you for sitting there. I have requested that meeting, and then I look forward to seeing that data. Councillor Wards.
Through you, Mayor Tracy, through to Councillor Ellison. Yeah, congratulations on being there. With your other hat on from previous years, you'll be aware that in the last LTP, what was then the Tararua Health and Wellbeing Governance Group put in a submission. Did anyone from a health hat put any submissions in from over here this time, Ellison?
No, not that I know of. As I say, we haven't seen the submissions yet, so that's why I want to see them. It was really interesting though, because the lady that had worked for or had been on the board of Mid Central, she was absolutely adamant. But it's interesting also because the earlier part of the discussion that day was about the internal bus system in Palmerston City, and they've actually readdressed the routes, and there was a age concern turned up, very concerned, because the areas that are the most impacted by the changes, and that is that they have to walk a little bit further to catch the bus, places like Highbury and Roslyn, which are low socioeconomic areas, whereas Hokowhitu wasn't impacted at all. And so she asked the question, but rightfully so, the chair did point out to her they didn't put a submission in when the public submissions were taken. And so you can't, and she had quite a group of people with her, but they made it quite clear you kind of can't come back after the event. So it is a real eye opener for people to realise they've got to be, people think they do it and it doesn't go anywhere, but if it's on paper,
yeah.
And that's why I want to see those submissions.
Well, can I, further to that then, can I, when the lens does get put across those submissions,
Can someone just take the health perspective, because it was a very strong submission we'd put in 3 years ago with no.
No, yeah, thank you. Yes, I will. I do know that they have the shuttle from Pahia Tour. I think they've increased the amount of runs they're doing. But that doesn't work for everybody. No, it doesn't. And we've got people living in our district that don't have a means of transport to get over the hill or to get to Masterton. And I particularly feel for the people living at Ekatahuna. It's they have to come to Palmerston for the hospital. They can't go to Masterton just down the road. They're just stuck.
Yes, I see the irony in telling that group that, they didn't put a submission in, and yet we did put submissions in. I'm just trying to find the balance of where you get listened to.
Yeah.
I'm also concerned around, those submissions should be public information, and yet we haven't seen them. Are those submissions intending to be put online so that everybody can read them? And look, people do go back. I mean, I've just recently been back onto the Horizons Regional Council website and had a look at just who submitted on the freshwater management plan in the Puketoi, and there were only 5 there, but at least I could go back, and it didn't have names, but I could go back and read those 5 and gain that understanding. So I look forward to that meeting and asking some questions around that.
Well, in the meantime, I will contact Sam and ask why we haven't received those. So that was different. Brent was very adamant about that. So.
Thanks, Councillor Franklin, for the work on that. Okay, then we have some correspondence sent out. We had a lot to celebrate in the district, and a very special celebration to have 2 Kiwibank Local Hero Award winners, Jeannie O'Brien and Rahiri Damon. Jeannie's here in Dennyburg and works with youth over the whole Tararua district, including Pahia Toa, and Rahiri Damon at this school, and for his work within the marae and the wider community. So that was great. So they're just listed there. Can you just pop your mic on?
His name, Damon. Richard, his grandmother died yesterday or the day before. So, he's obviously still dealing with the Kapaha group for our Christmas parade, but yeah, so, yeah, just sort of let you know.
Thank you. So, and just councillors, if there are great things in the community that we missed, just please let us know. Then they're just moving into the events there. I think just to make a comment, the farewell for Graham Mitchell on the 20th of October. That's he was the Norwegian consulate to the embassy, and following the conversations with the ambassador who came over from Canberra, to the 150th celebration, some really good connections, and something that John Ellison and from Northwood, myself and Graham Mitchell have been working on is a twin town relationship for Northwood. So that was certainly discussed with the ambassador. So we look forward to taking that forward. On the 26th of October, we presented a gift as a thank you to the Rangitikei District Council. And that was very emotional for them to receive that gift and to hear just what that meant in our time of need from them. So I think that is also online. I haven't watched it, but if any councillors want to, they do record their meetings, so you'll be able to see that. And then just moving through, if any councillors have got any questions around portfolios, you've got Councillor Peter Weber, Councillor Naona Chase, Councillor Kerry Sutherland. Did you wish to make any comments around any of your attendances? Councillor Peter Weber, Councillor Chase. Councillor Sutherland, just thanking you for stepping in on the Dannevirke radio. You've done a great job there. Councillor Sharon Wards, you've got some good information there. Any further comments?
Just I was seeking clarification. I submitted a number of photos to go with this text, but they don't appear to have been included. So I thought we were to try and enhance our reports in whatever way, but it's been a full-on few months to catch up on.
It has, and we are behind in that. Apologies, I have seen those photos and I'm unsure why they're not. That might have been design and layout. Apologies, there's certainly, I think there was four small ones.
Yeah, three.
Thank you, I'll look into that. Councillor Franklin, and thank you for attending the Rangitikei District Council.
That was really lovely.
Councillor Steve Wallace, and again, very heartfelt thank you for attending the Gold Star for Benedict Hills. That's very special. We get very few women that have got that level of service, and there are 2 in the Tararoa district. So that's just 1 in Eketahuna, 1 in Polroa. That's outstanding. Councillor Steve.
Yeah, I was actually, I've got 3 I've missed on that bit of paper, so. I did go to Armistice Day. I did play my bugle and required, and I also did it the day before. So it's not Ellie's fault, it's my fault. So I just want that recorded. And that night out at Pongaroa, I was actually invited to Lyle Hayes, invited me to his, but unless I get a formal invitation, I don't go on a whim. But it was greatly, when he did offer, I must admit. So congratulations, Lyle, if you're watching this. So anyhow, so I will make sure my diary is better kept. And I also had the pleasure, which I haven't mentioned in there, and I see Erin did, but she was in official capacity. We were the entertainment at the Marching Girls. Now, I've never seen so many happy women of a certain selected age have so much fun in so short a time. We had one person, I think she was very military orientated, and this old dear, I must tell you the story, this old dear, she says, oh, she's always like this. And everyone else, but they just fell in behind her. And it was just really good. So that was a tribute to the Dannevirke Marching Association girls, or whatever they call them, ladies, I should say. Very mature, very good in their aspect, and they do it real simple. They get in early, They finish early and they're all back in their cars because they come from all over the show, Wellington up to Napier, and they're back home by 3 or 4 to have a cup of tea. So well done to those people if you're listening. So there was 3 or 4 things I missed in there, but I'll make sure my diary is kept better. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Steve. And yeah, marching is huge. There's the Ruahine Ramblers certainly do us proud, and I'm sure we'll see them at the Christmas parade as well. So thanks for that. And apologies, I do try and if I see anything missing, add to that. So I've missed that as well. Councillor Peter Johns. And Councillor John for the 3 days at the motorhome show, especially. Then we've just got Councillor Mike Long. Questions there, and then just the attendance records there. So everyone's comfortable with that. Right. Are there any further portfolio reports? Mayoral matters. I do have for consideration that I did want to discuss was a letter to Horizons Regional Council and just check in with councillors' support just in regards to freshwater management. And the consultation that's gone in. I have drafted it, but the key points that I'm seeking support for councillors is to request from this council the urgency around the economic and social reports in order to understand the impacts that will result from the proposed water quality aspirational targets and land use change. If councillors are in support of that message. Yep. Can I just get a quick show of hands because I will sign it from all of us? Yep, thank you. That central government set the implementation of the National Policy Statement for Freshwater with unrealistic timeframes. And we will be communicating our views and encourage you to do so also. I think that's an important part even for our new MPs. Comfortable with that? And also, our community is under immense pressure from Cyclone Gabrielle, and the stress and level in the rural community is very high due to many cumulative pressures. We're not opposed to improving water quality outcomes as a territorial authority, and we're working hard in this space, as are our farming community. And I also thought I'd enclose a copy of the Taurua Plantain booklet just to share with them. But I think that's an important message just to get across. We have watched this before and we know the damage that can be done when this moves too fast without understanding those implications. And I shared with you five submissions from Poketoi, you know, that's some pretty aspirational targets for a catchment with 5 submissions. So I'll just, Councillor Sutherland, you've got a comment, Councillor Wards and Councillor Gilmore.
Thanks, Mayor Tracy. I was just going to make a comment. I think I was reading, trying to catch up with stuff for the last couple of nights, but I did see some comments about the new government's view on stepping back a bit and the signs that they might step back on the freshwater standards. So wait and see, I guess, but yeah.
We just need to keep that foot on the pedal. Councillor Wards.
Thank you, Mayor Tracy, for the opportunity to speak to this. You would have seen from the portfolio reports that Mayor Tracy, myself and Councillor Long were at that so-called consultation. Was meant to be a couple of hours, but we left at 1, so we were there a while. And it stems a little bit from what Councillor Allison is saying, that the almost complete lack of respect for the knowledge, the understanding and the experience in our community to be able to go to a meeting where there was 90 of us in that room, and some of the personnel from Horizons were really struggling to be able to demonstrate the information that they had. And I'm very pleased you've alluded to it in your communique, because until we as a community understand the economic and social impacts of what's being proposed, there's no way in heck we can even begin to comment on it, other than it just looked like too aspirational, and the ability to meet those goals will be too difficult for this community. So a bit like Kerry, I'm keeping an eye on what the new government may or may not do on this, but we cannot afford to take our foot off the gas. So heads up and well done, Mayor Tracy, for making sure that we're there every time.
Thank you. And councillors, I'm more than happy if you want, I can have that letter printed today and actually each person sign that as well. And the intention is that that will go to the chair, the chief executive and all councillors. Councillor Gilmore.
Thanks very much, Your Worship. I had similar comments to Councillor Sutherland, but just wonder if perhaps we could take that a slight step further in our letter to Horizons. I can't remember the council. I think there's at least one that is a regional council that are formally suspending their work on freshwater until the new government has actually reviewed those targets. And both of the coalition agreements, it is on the agenda, and I think it's in the 100-day plan. We may end up with something very, very different. So I wonder as a council, if our request, everything else you say, keep in, but we actually add an overarching request that they suspend work on it until we understand the regulatory framework.
We send a copy of that to MP, Member of Parliament, please, Tracy. Thank you.
Absolutely. Councillor Gilmore, are you aware which council has suspended? So I do like to research these a little bit.
Thanks, Your Worship. I'll have a quick look. I think it was Northland Regional Council, but I will double check that and I'll come back to you.
I'll come back to see, check on how councillors feel with that. Councillor Long and Councillor Johns.
For you, Mayor Tracy, I endorse everything that's been said, water and the regulations and stipulations going on. And for that reason, I made a decision 2 days ago that I will be putting an apology in for next Wednesday's meeting because Dairy NZ are having a field day at our farm. And one of the primary reasons is because Horizons collect water samples at the end of our farm in the Ruahine Ranges. For the last 2 years, they need 5 years collection to give data. And so Dairy NZ are having a meeting at our place to discuss water and even the welfare of some of the farmers are getting stressed now. We've been involved in this for over 20 years now. And instead of looking at what's been achieved, they're just putting more stipulations on. So so thank you for that.
Thanks, Councillor Long. And when I looked at the room in Woodville, I was incredibly proud of our rural communities for being there in such numbers. But actually, when I looked around the room, the same number of people impacted by Cyclone Gabrielle that have got a lot of work to do on their farms, but they knew the importance of this meeting. So I was very grateful for that. I agree. Councillor Johns.
Yes, I concur totally with Councillor Ward's comments and Councillor Long's. I think Horizons may well have been unprepared for the numbers that turned up. They certainly provided quite a good lunch or morning tea, but they didn't provide microphones. 90-odd people, it was very hard to hear what was being said, and some people don't speak up when they're told to. But I think the numbers probably surprised them.
It was certainly a very good turnout for what it was a 10:30 meeting in the morning. So, Councillor Gilmore, are you requesting council add to suspend their work at all, or is that it's something that we've got? I think if we send the original letter and then we've still got an opportunity, because the submission period hasn't closed, we've still got opportunity to strengthen that a little bit later on. Okay. Thank you. Right, I'll get that letter typed and we'll address that this afternoon. Thank you, councillors. Right, there's no further items on the agenda, so I will thank everybody for their attendance today and Right, councillor, we got one more. It is White Ribbon Week. Now, people have got their white ribbons on. Councillor Gilmore would like to take the pledge. Can I just ask if there are any other councillors present that would like to do the same? Some of us already have, absolutely. If there are any other councillors that haven't taken the pledge, I do have some pins here which has a copy of the pledge on the back. If you'd like to do that, Councillor Wallace, Councillor Chase. So your pledge is on the back. If you, councillor, would you like to stand to make that? Go up. I'm sorry, I do that together. Maybe you can stand to me. Second account.
Are we going to do it one at a time?
Let's do it together. Yeah. Let's do it together.
I will stand up, speak out, and act to prevent men's violence towards women.
Thank you, councillors, and that really does mean a lot in our community to see that leadership and for have all of us working towards that same cause. It is a high use of our police time, and just reading those signs and the white ribbons around the community just really does speak to me. And certainly earlier this year when we had another national case on TV where someone else lost their life is very, very sad. So thank you very much for doing that. Thank you. Right. Those us with a karakia. Kia tau te rangimairi e, kia tau te araha, kia tau te whakapono, Māori ora, kia tātou katoa, haumi e, hui e, tae ki e.